Hello everyone, today I have a solve critique of WarriorCatCuber's 1454 average of 5. For this first solve, you did a Z2, so you got green front, yellow top, and then you did a B to solve, to get these three good, this one bad. You did RL, D, check the back before the D, and then did an F, and then solved your line R, D2, R, D prime. So that's all good. I don't really have anything to say there. I think that was a good solution. Personally, I would have started it a little bit differently, holding it here from an X, and D, M, D, F to solve your EO, just to finger trick it a little bit differently. For this first pair, you check the back, and then you check the back again, and you decided to do this. So you did U2, R2, U, check the back, L to pair this up, R, U2, L, U, L. Now, a couple things to say about that. It's a good pair, good block choice to choose. Personally, I think R, U, R, U, L, U, L is a little bit better. Now your second pair, you chose this right in the front. That's pretty easy to see, right? You did R, U2, R2, L, U, L. Now, again, that's also pretty good. I will say, make sure you don't do too much hand switching, right? So in this case, you could do U2, L, U2, L, U, L, which is, maybe not better, but it's different and still good because it's 2-gen, right? As opposed to your 3-gen solution. So watch out for things like that. But your solution is still good. And then you did you checked around a little bit, then solved this. Perfect. Exactly how I would have done it. And then you did this pair. I like the pinching in the solve. That was good. One thing you can do also is I personally discovered and like this solution. I think you can finger tricks pretty well. It's also regripless, but not for everyone. So, all right, and you have anti-soon. Make sure to not regrip. You can do that with all your left hand, and then you have a G-perm. For your second solve, again from a Z2 rotation, you saw these four bad edges, did a UD, and then did a wide L, F prime, or U prime to solve this, and then rotated back D, wide L, D, to B to get your line edge. I think that's a good solution. I don't think I would have done it with the L moves. I think I would have just done an R prime F, but solid EO solution, pretty good. Now your first pair you chose was this red-green in the back. Now you executed it like R prime, U prime, R, U, R2, U, L. That's okay. I think you can do it a little bit better. Specifically, if you take it like this, you can either it like that and then insert, or if not, you can do the R2 first, then pair it there. Now for the second pair you chose this, the back slot, which I think is a good choice. Looking at this pair, it makes sense. You did R, U, R prime, U, R, check the back, insert. Now, the only thing I'll say about that is what you can do is R, U, R, U, split pair, insert, and that saves moves. But otherwise, yeah, I think that's a fine solution. Now for this next pair, you did some weird things. I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but okay. So you did a U, and an R prime, U, R prime, U2, R, U, R to pair this in the back. I don't really have anything against that pair, but personally, I see this right away, and I see U, R, U, insert. And I would argue that that's a lot better. Now, from there, Obviously, this is a fine pair, and you can do that fine. So yeah, U prime, RU, R prime, U2, RU, R. Now you locked up a little bit here. Another thing I've noticed is that your turning's a little rough. So try to not turn as hard. Turn a little bit smoother, a little bit slower if you have to. But you know, your turn, there's a little bit much force behind your solving. So then we've got this L case and a U perm, and that's all pretty standard. Now for your third solve, you've got 3 on the back and 1 on the side, so that's pretty easy. Put it in, then did a B prime, and then you had these 3 on the front and this on the front, and that lines up with your line edges really well. And you actually got an EO cross, so you know, all well and good. And you decided to go for this pair. Your solution was leaves a bit to be desired. You put it over to the left, to the right hand, split it up and paired it, and then inserted it into the back. Now that's a little not good for 2 reasons, because you have a better solution right here, and because you use 2 hands. This is 2 gen, so you can solve it just on the left hand without having to switch hands, just like that. Insert it into the back, all left. Anyways, from here, you also chose this pair, which is incidentally the same sort of pair, so you can actually go about solving it the same sort of way, but you decided to go put it into the back, pair it up like that, U2, insert. Now what you can do with this pair, sort of a similar thing. I'd first turn this down, U2, split pair, insert. Much better, no weird R2s. From here, you saw that, inserted it reasonably, then you had triple sexy, which is all good. From here, you can do anti-back soon, but you decided to do U2 into front soon, front anti-soon. I don't think for like any of the soon cases you need to AUF ever. You can always have front or back anti or normal soon from right or left. So that's something to keep. From here, you did this R perm, and that's okay, but it has a regrip in the middle. So if you do the one where the regrip's at the front at the start, I think you can execute that one a little bit faster. But yeah. Now for your fourth solve, you've got 2 in the back and 1 on the side. So you did an R, B, and then R2, U, F to solve the U, and you've got 2 line edges, D. Pretty easy case. Looking at this, I see this pair, but the way it's that's cross edges doesn't pair up very well. I see this, and I prefer that much more. I'm not sure if you saw that, but you saw this pair, which is also pretty easy to see. And you went about that pretty well, solving it there. Just for reference, if you're going to solve this, that's U2, solve it in the back. Now for your second pair, you chose this, and you had a good solution. You brought it to the front, split it, and then inserted it in the back. That's a good solution, but I think it's the worst pair. I think if you solve this front slot over here with L, U2, L, you got a split pair, and you can insert it. I think that's a much better solution. But yeah, from here the rest of the solve was pretty good. You solve this, and you solve that. You got a TOLL and a G perm. And you didn't miss the U2, so good job on the AUF. For your fifth solve, you've just got these 2 on the back, so that's pretty simple. And then you insert it, and you got your line already ready. So overall, pretty easy eoline, but you also didn't mess it up, so that's good. Now your first pair was already a little iffy. U, R, U2, R prime, U, R, U2, L2, R, U, R for this front pair. Now I'm just going to say straight out that that's bad for a couple reasons. One, there are much better solutions. The solution you have is all right, but execution-wise, definitely. And another thing is you have a 3-move pair with this. You can do R2, UL, solve that in the back, and then that also sets up this a little bit nicer for like R2, U2. As it is with this, I would probably solve it sort of similar, but first M, F, M prime to pair it up, then U2, UL. Regardless, from here, you got an alright solution. You got U2, then double sexy into the back. That's fine. Then you've got this, which you have an okay solution, but it's not great. U, R, U, R2, U2, U prime. Now that's kind of bad because you can do R2, U, R, U, R prime to solve that. Fewer moves and arguably better. And then you've got this last pair, or last corner. That's pretty easy. Insert. And then you've got left T, but you don't do that. You do U2 into that, which is fine, but you definitely want to be able to do left T. And then you've got your fancy RUBD A perm, which is so personally, I think doing the standard A perm is good, but you know, if you probably very specifically chose that, so you know, you do you, and it's not a bad alg, I'm just not good at it. My final thoughts on the solve are some good and bad, right? So for the first part, you had really great TPS. You averaged about 4.5 TPS, which is like how fast I turn, and I'm good 3 to 4 seconds faster than you are, so that was pretty impressive. For the most part, your F2L solutions were good. Most of them were just the correct thing you're supposed to do. Some of them were a little iffy, and some of the bad ones were mostly just because you had a better pair that you should have chosen, but some of them were just pretty terrible. You know full OCLL and full PLL, very important alg sets to know, the most fundamental things to know for ZZ solving, and of course your eolines, they were pretty excellent. I preferred to do them, a couple of them differently, but the solutions themselves were pretty great. I have 5 different things I'd recommend you address. The first is your F2L solutions. You averaged about 65 moves per solve, which is around 10 more than it could be and about 20 more than is humanly optimal, I think. Your F2L itself was about 40 moves, and under perfect circumstances, I think it's pretty reasonable for a human to average about 30 for ZZ, eoline, and F2L. For ZBLL, that can average around 15 to 18 moves, and so that's going to put you squarely mid-40s, 45-ish, but 65 moves is a fair bit more than you need. Reducing F2L move count will definitely help that, and then it'll also just get you faster by doing less moves. Ways you can improve F2L, looking at F2L sheets from other ZZ solvers. I know Papa Smurf has some. If there aren't enough of those, just watching walkthrough solves. I have some walkthrough solves, Papa Smurf has some, Phil has some. Looking at their solutions, comparing them to how you would solve things, that can be a really great way to improve. The second thing, EO cross. So for two-handed ZZ solving, you should 100% be using EO cross if you want to get fast. If you don't really care, then, you know, that's okay. Blocks aren't optimal for two-handed solving, so you shouldn't be using them. However, if you are going to stick with eoline, get better at blocks. One thing you can do is more cross to corner pairs. Okay, for example, for something like this, with this corner and edge, you could insert it, you could U2 it and then pair and then insert, or you could pair to the cross edge, insert, like that. That's something you should expand more. I didn't see you do any of that in your solves. It's only an average of 5, but if you're going to be using blocks, that's definitely something you should be doing more. The third thing I would recommend is regarding your right hand. If you have a case like this, which is just an easy split pair lefty, what I'll see you do sometimes is you'll pair it with your right hand and then insert it. That is not optimal, and you should not be doing that. Getting better at lefty turning is really important for solving, and doing things with your right hand unnecessarily is going to cost you a lot more moves and just requires shifting and more regrips. And then the last two things are regarding look ahead. I talked a little bit about how you tip the cube a lot. So when you're solving, you want to be looking for the next pieces. Let's say I'm solving some case, right? And I check the left side, but I don't see anything there. Well then, even if I have to tip to check the right side, I already reduced a tip that I would have done after I solved the pairs because I'm not checking the left side anyways. And then the last thing is regarding finger tricks and finger efficiency. I didn't notice too much regrips, but that's something you should always be cautious about. Your finger tricks themselves, you have a reasonable amount. I noticed you did the pinching for this case. That's X as opposed to regripping to the D face. And then being able to flick is also really important. And then the last thing would be making sure your fingers don't fly around too much when you're solving. You want to keep them close and tight to the cube so you don't have to have big regrips or like just the extra 1/10 of a second to pull your finger in from out here instead of from here. Alright, so that's the video. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. This project took a really long time to film, record, edit, so if you liked it, if you like the content I've been making, please subscribe. You can just find me in the ZMS server and just ask questions to me or Papa Smurf, anyone else. We're all pretty open to helping anyone. Thank you for watching. Now, get out there and do better ZZ solves.